All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rish and me talking about all kinds of stuff. And Rish, you got some very interesting numbers for us.
Yes. Well, we got to talking about one of our favorite subjects, and the Belt and Road Initiative uh, got brought up, and more specifically, the predatory nature of its loans and the fact that it used the Belt and Road Initiative to put a lot of money into countries trying to create the new Silk Road, an economic future for China that is not directly tied to its coastline, which is what they need if they ever want to make it past Western sanctions. If that were to happen for any reason, it would either that or a very hard fought war. So now it's been a while since they started. They're encountering some problems. They knew that some would default and they were going to get some basically lease free facilities because they're employing their people, so they're getting their money back by having their own people build the Belt and Road in these foreign countries. They're not teaching the locals jack diddly. They're not improving the situation. They're building facilities, and then when money is not made off these facilities, most of which are several years behind schedule, then they fall apart. China takes it over. Well, it took over, in my opinion, more than it bargained for. Obviously, the CCP did not share their numbers on their rates of attrition for defaults. I'm sure it was discussed, but I don't have those numbers. But what I do have numbers on is China bailing out the Chinese investors due to Belt and Road. Year to project to date, China has bailed out Chinese lenders to the tune of 240 billion with a B between 2008 and 2021. 80% of those bailouts coming between 2016 and 2021.
What currency are we talking about? Renminbi or US dollars?
Um, I'm not sure, but I believe that is when I get to the sources, that's why it did not specifically say, but given the sources, which I'll do at the end, I believe it's in USD. The largest was Argentina at 100 out of the 22 countries that owe. Argentina at 111.8 billion, Pakistan at 48.5 billion, and Egypt at 15.6 billion. My sources for this are the World Bank, Harvard Kennedy School, uh, A-Data, the Kiel Institute for World Economy. So some pretty big hitters are all agreeing, and they're all Western. So I can look into that document if needs be, but I'm pretty sure that was translated over to USD. But 240 billion dollars is not chump change.
Well, it's certainly, first of all, it's not change. Secondly,
Especially when your economy might about to be tanking and your demographics
I
suck.
was about to say, I think for if you are
The
any
floor
kind
is
of
yours.
administration would have a hard time chewing on that. And let's put it that way. My information I get on this, just for the recent stuff, what you just said, is that countries start defaulting on those Chinese loans, and a number of countries has put themselves in a bit of a pickle, namely Sri Lanka, Pakistan. The current economic problems are partly, at least, due to massive loans that the Pakistanis can't pay back. Simple as that. Tajikistan is now confronted with more and more assertively Chinese officials are claiming, depending on what official it is, between 25 and 40% of Tajikistan's territory. Yeah, that's ours, and so on. Malaysia is, or Malaysia has been informed through diplomatic channels that China is very concerned with Malaysian oil drilling in their own economic exclusion zone, which China claims as their own, the whole South China Sea debacle, and
Hey, one
just
of
a
the
little
three jobs I said, short coastline building, one of the three
one of
jobs left
the
in China.
look. We are also much talking about the South China Sea, but all these artificial islands require a level of maintenance that even if you put in the money and the work, some of these islands are sinking. Yeah,
Well,
so it's
that
basically
happens.
useless.
That happens when you just dump copious amounts of concrete in one place. You're
So
creating a rock formation. It's heavy.
it's really. But going back to the initial idea of the new Silk Road, yeah.
That's a
For
great idea for them. It was a good in my opinion, it was a
no,
great idea for them.
I
I think it
totally
was
disagree with you. I totally disagree. Well, let me put that
good.
forward. Why I disagree. Number one, for the participating countries, what kind of infrastructure is being built? For example, in Pakistan, it's one of the examples that was given, and the reason why they are defaulting is a long road and tunnels through mountains. And in I think it's the Central
Wait.
African Republic.
So are you disagreeing? Clarification of point before you continue.
Yeah.
Do you disagree that China needed to have an economic model that didn't involve the coast, and the Belt and Road was a bad idea in general, or do you disagree with the infrastructure that was built for the project? Is it the
No,
premise or
I
the
think
application that you
I
disagree with?
think both the premise and the
Okay.
application,
See, I agree
where
with the premise, but I'm not. The execution was
well, we can argue about that, but let me put that point forward. Most of the infrastructure that was built, for example, that road in Pakistan, what I said, there is a huge international airport, I think, in the Central African Republic or in the Congo. Please don't nail me. I only well, basically, as you said, when these projects are breaking ground, the Chinese are bringing in Chinese workers from China. So, any kind of agreement, for example, with South Africa, they investigated this, and there was an agreement that they would hire 50% from South Africa, 50% from China. Great job market, yeah? And they found out that the Chinese side never held up their promises. There was
no.
between 18 and 23% of people were hired locally.
I'm
You have
surprised at those numbers. I would have said single digits.
um, there is this kind of thing. I don't want to go into too much detail, but essentially for the receiving countries, it was a bad deal.
Mhm.
Particularly, for example, I think that international airport is exemplary. So basically, the Chinese took it over. And why would they want an international sized airport in a country like, say, the Central African Republic? Very, very simple. A civilian airport can relatively easily, especially with Chinese characteristics and standards, be converted into a military outpost. Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's look at the American Pacific campaign in World War II. The first thing the Marines, the Seabees, and the Expeditionary Force basically did when they occupied an island, took it over from the Japanese, they built an airfield. Yeah.
Or repaired the
So
one that we destroyed on our way in.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So first of all, it's questionable
We got
infrastructure
good
with
at both.
yeah with extremely questionable quality. Now for what you said, getting good at building that kind of infrastructure. Last night I listened to an interview, the commanding officer who recovered that Chinese spy balloon, and he was talking about the Navy divers, Seabees, and so on. Very interesting stuff. And he said that force has always been in transition to the next step, what we need since World War II, like you said. Now, but back to that Belt and Road Initiative. First of all, it is a gargantuan. It's a gargantuan project, which no
See,
single
that's what I
country
loved.
can
That's what I
finance.
loved about it. I love when
So
humans undertake massive feats.
Absolutely. Look, I will be the first one to
I'm
commend
pro
people.
Homo sapiens. I'm a
Yeah,
humanist. I'm
totally,
in it for
totally.
our species, the whole
The problem is,
block and
again,
sparrow.
questionable infrastructure, questionable quality with questionable approach.
Zero
However,
morals.
well, that is one thing. So, and we now have a situation because of many things. For example, those hiring practices, and simply the way how many Chinese people involved in this project behaved in those countries. So there was one documentary in another African country, and they found out that the daughter of one of the officials there locally didn't have a visa for that country, didn't have a driver's license, but was driving around and endangering the local population. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's on the magnitude level of international incident to I don't really care. This is much
Yeah.
closer to I don't really care, obviously. But I think it is the sum of all these actions and the general attitude of Chinese towards Africa and African people.
Well,
So
the Chinese engineers that I worked with on construction sites, I found them to be extremely condescending and rude. And
that
also very little knowledge about the subject matter, poorly trained and overly confident. So, yeah,
let me
I've
say this
experienced that personally.
about this kind of thing. The xenophobia is very strong in China. There is now the other thing I have to say, on paper, Chinese construction standards are really good. It is the implementation, and
No.
yes. So when you look at steel construction, yeah, the basically the skeleton of a building, that frame of a building designed by a Chinese is between 20 and 30% heavier than what a Western design would
Yes, to
be
allow
weighing on.
for mistakes in their mathematics.
Not only that,
It's overbuilt and over engineered so
it
that it
is,
can
yes,
deal with its shortcomings.
yeah. And the other thing
If
is,
you
it is
do it right the first
basically
time, you don't got to go back for
it's
seconds.
there's a second problem. If you are an architect on one of these projects, and one of the things that happens on every construction site is that the builders are cheating on the concrete, not putting enough cement in it. Yeah. So there has been a law introduced that there has to be a government official checking on every concrete pouring at every single construction site. So it hasn't improved the quality of the concrete. It is just another job that is filled by
Wait,
someone in the
do
government.
you mean the CCP has figured out how to train uncorruptible inspectors? We must share this with the world.
No, that is exactly the point. That is exactly the point. Look, this is just another job. It has the same
It's a
propensity to
job with a
bribery.
tip. It's like being a
Yeah,
bartender. It's a job that comes with an expected tip.
and well, about Chinese government jobs. Why do people pursue that? Number one, it's a guaranteed income. It is if it's the same thing with the Chinese army. It's 3 meals a day. Yeah.
Hey, look,
So
I poured concrete in New Jersey. I know how the system works, buddy.
So literally, this is and the way this works in China, the salary just as everywhere, the salary for government employees worldwide is abysmal compared to
Hmm.
their private industry counterpart. Yeah,
Hmm.
but in China, you have something called a year-end bonus, which is much larger than your annual salary, for example.
Hmm.
And yeah, this is the
So is that
incentive.
like an annual retaining bonus? You didn't quit this year. Here's money.
Yeah, something like that. And
I'm not saying that we have retaining bonuses in America. I've been giving money like, dude, I know it sucks. Just stay 2 more months.
No, the other side of the story is obviously the accessibility of hush money, yeah, bribes. And a lot of things in China don't work without paying something extra, even in the health system. I don't even want to
You
go into all
realize
the details
you're
about it.
describing the American Italian mafia, right? Like in the Northeast and in the Midwest.
It is exactly like that.
No, that's what the Jersey concrete comment was. You're describing the
Yeah.
mafia.
So look,
Except Italians or Irish or Albanians,
they're
what it is. Chinese. They're a triad.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your party book says or what your passport says. The propensity for these things are basically everywhere. It's just how it's been dealt with everywhere. And look, I am the first one to say that such a situation where people are, shall we say, a little bit flexible in the interpretation of the law, a lot of things can actually go smoother. Yeah, I mean, I spoke about how I got my job in China and the person and what it led to further on. The person actually, look, yes, this is what I have to do by law. I also hear you. It is absolutely bollocks that we go through this.
But I don't want to go to Chinese jail.
I also don't want to go to Chinese jail. No one wants to. Yeah, by the way. But literally, what is now happening, obviously, through, first of all, poor design, poor quality, a lot of this infrastructure is basically crap. It's not really useful for the local population, doesn't give them any benefits, and doesn't really earn the revenue that these countries need to repay. So now with the economic woes in China themselves, what are they doing? Well, they are looking at the situation. Well, we have given out all these loans. Now it's time to call these loans back in.
And what I was seeing was it was actually a problem for China because there was so much debt outside the country.
It is, exactly. Look, you are running, at this point, they have to be running low on money. And the advantage for a system like the CCP and People's Republic of China is if the chairman says there is money, and if the chairman says you print money, then there is money. Yeah, but even that has its capacity.
We haven't found it yet. 32 trillion and counting.
Yeah, and well,
America's money printers are not disassembled. So trust me, if they're gonna find the end, it's gonna take a while.
I need to clarify one thing. There is 2 monetary systems in the People's Republic of China.
What do you mean?
Yeah. What I mean is when we talk about the monetary system in context of, say, the US, the UK, Germany, you go out with US dollars, I go out with pounds, or in Germany with euros, and buy stuff. Yeah. That is handled by the central bank of the US, the UK, Germany, and
Department of Treasury.
Yeah. So
they have their own building.
In China, this domestic system is completely isolated from the rest of the world. So, for example, when we talk about renminbi and renminbi transactions, that's the Chinese currency, there is 2 renminbis. One has the ISO code CNY, that is the domestic yuan. If you want to do international transactions, number one, you either use US dollars in China, or you use convertible yuan, like convertible peso and normal peso in Cuba, for example, for all our American viewers that might be closer to that. And it literally creates.
Really, it would be for our Canadian viewers. Canadians love going to Cuba, so they are already familiar with what you're talking about.
Basically, that is 2 financial systems packed in one. Now, there is 100% control of the domestic financial system. So that is not an issue. The problem is all these loans are given basically on the international market. Even if they are in yuan, they have to be in CNH, which is technically a different currency, but one-to-one exchangeable with CNY if the chairman allows you to.
I'm so spoiled as an American. Our
We
money
are.
is accepted
We are.
everywhere.
And
You
the
think they
other
won't take
thing
dollars
is
in Scotland? They'll take dollars in Scotland.
they will.
They'll take
They will.
dollars in Shanghai.
Because
They'll
it's
take
convertible.
dollars in Paris.
Yeah. So the thing is, when you
They'll take dollars in Russia.
oh, they would love to.
Oh, they fucking
But
would.
speaking of that, for example, if you want to send me $100,000, you go to your bank, and if you have $100,000 in your account, you send it to me. Yeah. No,
Ever since 9/11,
no problem.
no, ever since 9/11, that's harder to do.
It's harder to do, but
if you are a business, it's very easy to do. If it is a private citizen to a foreign national private citizen, it's harder to do.
It's
because
harder for reasons.
Because of organized crime. Because you know.
But look, despite that, you are not an organized criminal.
I could do it. It'd take a day. It'd take a day.
I am not an organized criminal. So basically, the banks involved or the treasuries involved will look at Roland, will look at Rish. Oh, they are both nice guys. Yes, this is okay. Yeah, for example,
maybe they tell you there's a 2-day wait. Yeah. Maybe they tell you we have to hold it for 24 hours. But it's there.
If you are a Chinese national and you want to transfer money abroad, you are brought in by the Gestapo in your bank.
What do they call them over there?
No, it's actually the bank clerk that does this.
But it's not the secret police; it's the bank police.
No, it's well, basically, if I step into the bank and I want to transfer my Chinese account to my German account, British account, they just tell me no, f off. No, it is my money, and I'm not allowed to do that.
While you're there, it's your money while you're there.
While I'm there, so effect now, they had to make a law that yes, foreigners can transfer money out of China. I go to the bank with that law, and they tell me to f off. They won't do it. End of the story.
They probably say a derogatory word for foreigners under their breath, or just straight to your face.
Not under their breath. Very openly. Very openly. So now my wife also has a foreign passport, but she looks Chinese. She talks Chinese. So when they then realize, oh, this is also a foreigner, they come with all kinds of requests. Oh, we need your passport. We need a statement from your employer that this is actually your money. Yeah. She has to bring an amount of pay slips. So if you want to transfer, say, $1,000, you need to show Chinese pay slips from a Chinese employer that says this person has earned $1,000.
So you have to create a money trail.
Yep, essentially, which is not even the problem. Even if you are a Chinese citizen, you are limited to, I think, $50,000 equivalent what you can transfer in a year.
In a year?
In a year. So let's just say you are an expatriate. Yeah, you earn, I don't know how much. China pays very well, begrudgingly so. And let's just say you make $100,000 a year. Your living cost is not that high. Even in the big cities, you have living costs equivalent to what you would have in Florida, in the UK, or whatever. Yeah. So you do make quite a bit of money. So, and how are you going to ever get that money out?
Well, see, I was laughing because I had a great question for you, and I think you're the man to ask. And my question made me chuckle a bit. I bet I could guess the answer. So, say I'm a Chinese national, and I have $50,000 or 50,000, whatever, and I want to retire to, say, a nice island that kind of reminded me of home, but wasn't quite home. So I retire over to Taiwan. What's the process for getting my 50,000 transferred over?
In that example, you would definitely have a conversation with someone that is directly or indirectly linked to the intelligence services of
And
your home
is
country.
directly or indirectly pointing a gun at me?
No, no.
No? Okay.
They don't do that openly with with this kind of stuff. No,
What if I was Han
but
Chinese though?
uh, having said that, I know a person who volunteered during their legal stay in China and basically was caught in an English school where he just went and said, "Hello, yes, this is but basically just a guest lecture." Yeah, you would call that a guest
Yeah.
lecture at a university. That person was detained, handcuffed, gun in their face, and at the police station told to pay a fine of 5,000 renminbi, about
What
$800, $1,000.
was it a paid guest lecture or
Nope, nope,
so he didn't
nothing.
even receive any
Nope,
compensation. He donated his
nope.
time
Yep.
or hers. I don't think he specified.
Um, yeah, this but in the example that you made, you would be requested to promote the unification under communist Chinese rule. You would be asked to promote the chairman. In general, you would become an unofficial, semi-official employee of the intelligence agency that is
And
interested there.
what if I told him I wanted to go to Thailand and spend intimate time in my bedroom alone with a Winnie the Pooh doll?
You would possibly be directly sent to Xinjiang.
Gotcha. Hard labor.
Uh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that you would be able to perform any kind of labor when they are done with you.
Oh, okay. Vegetable
So
status.
potentially at the end, yes, that is definitely an option here.
Yeah.
But in general, look,
So no Chinese. So you're saying it's unless if you're a Chinese national,
yeah,
mainland,
yeah,
and you want to go to Thailand to live there, if you're not
yeah.
an agent or at least on paper agreed to be an agent, it's going to be pretty rough.
If you
And
are
I'm
not,
assuming their agents in Thailand or not Thailand, in Taiwan would be fact checking. No, like, oh, this guy just said
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
not really with
No, this
us.
is
You want
the
me to
way
go ahead
this
and
is
handle
organized.
that?
I think that is a whole different conversation. Let's finish the Belt and Road thing first, because unfortunately,
We're
I
still
have
on China. This is good for us.
look,
We're
I have
30
enough.
minutes in and we're still on the country.
I mean, it's a good track record, the way that we wander off. But no, I do have first and second hand information on these scenarios. So
No, that's terrible.
it's and like I said, I was in the lucky position because my wife is ethnic Chinese, and especially at the beginning, I was more than open to learn how stuff works around me. Because look, if I go somewhere, yeah, if it doesn't matter where, I don't want to be the person to stick out like a sore thumb. Yeah.
Mhm.
So when people do things in a certain way, I want to know, well, how is it done here? Okay, this kind of works for me. If I do this, if I do that, yeah, no problem. But let's finish the quickly. Let's finish the Belt and Road thing. What is happening now?
Oh,
As
it
the
might quickly be finishing on its own without our help.
very quickly, as these countries fail to repay their loans or struggle to repay their loans, China is struggling with financial liquidity. They try to get that money back and literally get the money back, because at this moment the infrastructure is useless for them.
And I don't see how Belt and Road works without Indian participation, and they keep killing each other up in the Himalayas.
Um, well, first of all, what is happening in these conversations when the Chinese want their money back? In Africa, the officials are laughing at them until the Chinese leave the room. No, quite literally, quite literally.
Just to your face, like
Particularly,
bye-bye.
particularly, one thing that happened last year is a Chinese media producer went to several African countries, for example, Malawi, and made the local children there hold up signs in Chinese that were extremely racist. And domestic dissidents in China had nothing better to do to translate these slogans into English for the local population. And I don't know about you, but if you are being called all kinds of racial slurs,
Wait,
yeah,
hold on. They were getting the local kids to hold up signs that
yeah,
had racial slurs about the
yeah,
locals,
yep,
but I'm guessing in Chinese and no one spoke it.
yep. So one of
That
the
happened
more
to an American couple that went to a Muslim country and they renewed their vows and they did it in Arabic and they the whole thing was not a wedding vows, it was them just running them down. So yeah, actually I have seen how that plays out in the news. Turns out
yeah,
people get angry.
yeah. I mean, one of the more civilized slogans was "I am a black monster."
Um, do they have
Yeah,
the N word in China?
yes,
Is it the N word or is it another equally
it is.
terrible word?
It is from the connotation. It basically translates for you and me. It would translate as the worst kind of savage or barbarian without any form of culture or behavior.
So a
I don't want
beast,
to
not a
repeat that.
man, a beast.
Yes, is
And they
essentially
had
it is very
wow,
dehumanizing.
dude, did the Africans forget they had AKs when this was over?
No, there is.
There's a lot of
Not
guns in
sure if it
Africa.
is. Not sure if it is Ghana or Uganda. There is basically.
Uganda's down
Is
for a good Persian. The Uganda already kicked all the Asians out of their country.
there is.
Watch
Don't
the
ask
movie with
me.
Forrest Whitaker.
There was recently, very recently, an incident where a Chinese national was actually killed in Africa. So
Doesn't surprise me. Look what they're doing.
it it is literally well, as like I said, there is in essence, going back to our topic, the Chinese are not getting their money back. Yeah.
No, so what are the other countries?
The other
So
thing,
Africa's laughing at them. Africa knows what China did, so they're not having it. How is
well,
Pakistan and the Middle East taking it? I mean, I don't think they ever got close to
Pakistan
sniffing
right
Europe.
now is at the stage of saying, no, we are not repaying, we can't repay. Sri Lanka tried. We can see how that is going. And
Aren't they under revolution?
oh yeah,
No, like, isn't there
so yes,
literally a revolution in
yes,
Sri Lanka right now?
there is a lot of upheaval right now. The country is basically bankrupt. Yeah? And
Yeah.
really, when you see that kind of situation, it the other thing what you mentioned is a great idea in terms of New Silk Road, to also to underrun sanctions. My dear friend, most of the countries where this initiative has been investing in, because the countries that you would want to trade with, they already have a lot of infrastructure that you don't need to build.
But
And
if
the
you can
countries,
connect to it, you have access.
yeah, but still, that is what I'm saying. Even if you do connect, even if you build there, those countries are very prone to siding with the US and potential sanctions against you if
But
you, for example, invade another country.
but
So
here's but
basically,
look at, with that model open, with the countries that aren't friendly with the West, it does give you economic relief in this basis sanctions. But also, if you have economic growth, well, I understand that the Chinese actually turn their map. So for them, it's the top and the bottom. For me, it's the east and the west. I was shown a map where Japan's above China like this, and that's how they were viewing the map of the globe. I don't know how
I
accurate
haven't
that
seen
was.
that, but
Oh,
the
I had,
problem,
but that's what I
I
said. I
see
don't
where
know
I
the
see where you
validity.
want to go. I see
But
where you want to go, but
check it out. Check it out. If you have this economic growth in the West, you don't need the islands. And if you don't need the islands, you don't need the Navy. And if you don't have the Navy, your waters get patrolled for pirates and the shipping lanes stay open at no cost to you by the U.S. Navy. Instead,
look,
you piss
I
off the
can tell you
U.S. Navy.
I can tell you what the problem with that equation is.
I can figure this out.
All
And I
these
don't run
countries.
countries. I can make better decisions than this.
Look, the problem with that sermon is all these countries that would still trade with you under those sanctions don't have the money.
All right, but check it. If you have the benefits in the West, you don't have to push so hard in the East. The sanctions don't come because you have friends instead of rivals. Stop being a dick to people, China. People wanted to be your friend.
I think that ship has sailed, unlike many ships
Yeah,
in
about
Shanghai
98.
Harbor. Yeah. So it's basically, but
They get
going
their
back
friends
to
like they
what you
used to.
said,
Shanghai 'em.
going back to what you said about the financial system.
Right.
Um, so basically,
What you
let's
said
just
blows
say,
my mind. That's crazy to me.
look, it does make sense from a very strange perspective in terms of a minority, in fact, one man, yeah, says, I make every decisions here. And I make decisions based on what is good for me, what keeps me in power. So if you are not overly rich, you wouldn't be having this conversation. You would just live in that country. You would get your visa every year, 2 years, or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you could basically live even with your Chinese bank account and just go to the ATM, get money out. So that is really not an issue. However, if you are at the level where, say, you can buy real estate in a foreign country, or let's say you are Chinese, you have enough money to buy real estate, to retire to a country that you would, yeah, be comfortable to retire to. Thailand is actually a thing. Then Hainan has been popular, and as you said, Taiwan. So let's go forward with that. Another destination coming to mind has been Vietnam, because North Vietnam is basically economically very connected with that area in China. So, anyways, what would happen if you are
What
wealthy?
about
You wouldn't.
Singapore? Singapore is a wealthy city state.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you are a wealthy Chinese and want to retire abroad, you won't retire. You will continue doing business,
Mm-hmm.
because if you really do retire, it's a different story. So, but if you go there, and the top destinations would be Taiwan once again, then Singapore, as you said. Oh, interesting story about Singapore and Canada and the US. Canada, because it has a very open immigration policy for Chinese. The US,
There's some history there.
uh,
Not all immigration was so easy or so. Let's just say the head tax. Yeah, I know all about that, Canada. You've got your
so
dirty smudges on your face too, just like the
everyone
rest
does.
of us. But I still love you,
But
Canada.
Another
Buy me a
destination
house in
is, of
Moose Jaw.
course, the US.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would happen if you are very wealthy, and you only get very wealthy if you are connected politically? That's
Mm-hmm.
another thing you need to be aware of. Yes, you would be approached, and in terms of approach, you would be told this is what you do. Yeah, this is not even a question. So, and the way this is organized is through departments at every Chinese embassy.
So
For
it's
example,
reinforced at every single level. You're
yeah,
saying it's been fully institutionalized. The concrete is dry. The system is in place. The
yeah,
building's there. Okay.
it's
And
not
it
only
would
the
be
building.
very hard to dislodge it, I'm guessing.
Uh,
Peacefully?
yes
No,
and
peacefully,
no.
without blood. Without blood.
Well, I would love to say, look, I have a blueprint of ending that, because just this morning I read on the news that Chinese spies have infiltrated House of Commons interest groups, basically a couple of politicians getting together discussing a particular topic, and steering the conversation in ways that is beneficial to the political goals of the Chinese Communist Party. So one thing one thing this does is emboldens the Chinese side to be more aggressive. And I want to recall and bring up this incident in Manchester again, where people were protesting peacefully outside the Chinese embassy, and the Chinese consul of that embassy went out and assaulted peacefully demonstrating people, because, and he has gone on the record for that, because that is his patriotic duty as a Chinese when his country and his leader are insulted. And the argument that, well, this is not China, this is the UK, people are allowed to protest here, doesn't count for these people. And what kind of disrespect, as you were saying, rude and disrespectful, do we as a Western society tolerate before we say, no, this ends? So essentially, what happened, the UK politely asked that this person is coming in for an interview because he assaulted someone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the request with these incidents with diplomats happen all the time, all over the place, and it's a difficult situation for both countries. So first of all, the location, the ground, and the building of a foreign embassy is not foreign soil. Not in the UK. I don't know how it is in the US, or how, and I know the US perceives that an American embassy, wherever it is US territory.
And
Yeah?
we will defend it with lethal measures unless it's
Have you seen?
unless Hillary's in charge of that one. Then the people there will die patriotically, waiting for help to come, dying to the last man fighting.
What have you seen the
Because our
Chinese
soldiers have
embassy in
honor and are.
Guangzhou?
No, I haven't seen any Chinese embassy.
Well, you need to look at the American embassy in Guangzhou. That base looks like a fortress.
Hold on, let me.
Because
I got Google. How I don't know how to spell that.
I will put it in well, basically a GUANGZHOU. Guangzhou.
ZHOU. Yeah, that only one thing can have a name that weird.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some images. You're saying it looks like.
It looks
God
like
damn, is that a pillbox?
Yep.
That's a machine gun nest that grew.
So if you are, for
look
example,
at the area
Southern
around it.
Chinese,
They pushed all the high-rise buildings back as far as they could, so that any sniper shots would be damn near impossible with the crosswind.
Well, what's happening here? What's happening?
No, that place is a fortress.
Yep, that place is a fortress,
wow.
And there is a reason for that. If you are a Chinese and you say something that the chairman dislikes, what would you do? You would flee to the nearest US embassy. Yeah? So now China also has a track record. Yeah. I can see that. I don't know if our viewers can properly see that.
No, I don't think so. I can't see it on your screen. I was trying to get it on the screen for the viewer.
No. Basically, China also has a track record of not respecting the integrity of foreign diplomatic stations in its territory. Yeah, so there might be a second reason for making that kind of embassy a fortress.
Yeah.
So
I think we should just keep the one in other China.
Look, the thing is, why do we have so many embassies in China? At this stage, there are well, the reason is we have American citizens and dependents, or Western citizens and dependents, scattered across the place. And we also don't. We want to be nice. We don't want Chinese from a certain area of China have to travel to Shanghai or Beijing just to get a bloody visa. Yeah.
Also, you
So
give our people a place to run to.
yeah.
I can
So
make it there. If I make it there, Marines got me.
yep.
Because that's who
So
guards our embassies. Well, there's the Marines, and then there's also another service that you don't hear about a lot, but they're directly tied to embassy security.
yep. Um I don't want to. I am not an expert in those
If you
setups,
storm
but
our embassy, we will kill you. We have highly trained individuals who will die for country, who are patriotic as all get out. They will die for a teaspoon of that soil, as long as an American still breathes on that soil and the flag still flies. Till the flag's down and the Americans are gone, we have people at every single embassy that, so
yeah.
help you God, someone else will raise your sons and daughters if you try to come. We might not
Um,
win. We've lost a few embassies, but the kill to death ratio, yeah, we're Call of Duty numbers, all pro.
yeah. I mean, I've
We will
seen the
fucking kill you.
so yeah. But back to the finance system.
Yeah.
How do you get money out? How do you get out of the country? It's essentially it also depends on the domestic situation. I would
What do you mean,
not
like
be
what country you're
surprised
going to, or I'm sure it matters
to
what
what
country, right?
country you are going and how bad the situation in China is.
We
So,
mean
for
domestic
example,
riots, unrest, stuff like that.
uh, in that direction, yes.
How bad they're looking in the
Spoiler
news.
alert! Spoiler alert! Over the weekend, a massive riot started in Chengdu because there is no food, there is no money, there is no jobs.
Young
So
men.
I said in our last video, give it 6 months, 12 months time, and the Chinese might be accelerating the timeline here.
And then you
So
went to bed and it was on the news the next morning.
it was, well, if you know where
Well,
you're
I mean, if
looking,
it
and
was, if that's what happened, that's how it happened.
so and uh, let's put it. Let's go back to that kind of attitude
Belton
and
Road.
the um, so basically, what happened with that Chinese diplomat is, rather than have this person even questioned, the Chinese Communist Party recalled him. So yeah, and I am sort of, well, what would happen if this was the other way around? Yeah, the Chinese would walk into our embassy, get the person they want, throw them into a jail, and at some point the State Department, Foreign Office would be informed, oh, we did detain someone of you. We will tell you when and if we charge that person. Yeah. So
Your embassy,
and
as in the German embassy or the Brits embassy? Whose
eh,
embassy is we?
well, they have a track
Because
record,
they ain't storming in ours.
not without a large number of casualties and a major diplomatic incident. So
Mm-hmm.
you see, this is another thing. They choose their targets very well. They look at this and say, "Oh,
Well, yeah,
we
bullies pick
can't
on
do
people
that
they
with,
can get away with.
yeah, we can't arrest Americans." So with this hostage diplomacy of when this Chinese lady of Huawei was arrested or detained in Canada on behest of the US. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
what happened is, well, it is really the Americans who are behind this, but if we arrest an American citizen, we are in serious shit.
Yeah,
So let's arrest some Canadians. That is what
yeah,
happened. So, and I have, like I said, I have
sounds
no
about
illusions
right.
that how this
Uh,
is going, and the
hey,
way the
don't
way
sleep
we
on the
should resolve
Canadians,
this.
though, dude. Canada's got some hardcore special forces guys too. Okay, don't Don't sleep on the Canadian Armed Forces.
I wouldn't want. Look,
They have
first of
units that
all,
are
it's
extremely
very
capable.
difficult to get on the wrong side of Canada. The
Yeah.
Canadians are very, very open-minded socio-libertarians, and
You've never been to a hockey or roller derby match in rural Canada.
not on the wrong side of the pitch. Yes. No. But you know what I'm saying.
Those guys. I'm just
So,
saying that they are. Like I said, I live there. I would love to live there again. You know, they're like you're saying, but yeah, you get on the wrong side and don't get it twisted. They will stomp a mud
yeah.
hole dry in your ass.
I mean, they are, how to say that, they you don't want to screw with them
Well, they're
if
not
they're
screwing with
relatively tough.
anybody. Why mess with them?
So,
They were just
but
doing something we asked.
really, this is the kind of thing. This is how this would happen. And if we as Western powers continue to just roll over and accept that, this won't change. So again, if it would, all of these problems would very quickly go away if we simply act reciprocally. Yeah. So basically, oh, you arrest 2 Canadians, we arrest 5 Chinese. Boom. Yeah.
I
Very,
don't
very
agree with
simple.
that. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree.
I
I'm with
agree
you.
that any response that I've ever had. So this is part of like my personal opinion, and it just goes up as the amount of people grow.
Yep.
Anytime you're attacked, I think the response should always be at least one level greater.
That's what
Never
I'm saying.
equal, one
Yep.
level greater
That's what I'm
every
saying.
single time.
That's
You
what I'm
do
saying.
A, you get B. You
Yep.
do B, you get D.
Yep.
And it should be
I'm totally
exponentially.
in terms of when dealing with the current leadership in China. That is exactly the minimum response level you should have.
You
Yeah.
arrest 2, we arrest 4.
So the other thing, going back to the financial stuff, it's if you have a currency that is so closely managed, a euphemism basically, if you do not exercise that control, and if you do not, that's why I'm saying, if you are wealthy, you would have this kind of conversation with the security services, and you would be told what your money does. I mean, right now you get your money taken away if you are rich enough and not friendly enough with the chairman. So
Hey, I think they
really,
got that from Russia too. I think they copied
it's
that.
it's
They
very,
bought a
very
couple of that
difficult
model and then they mass produced it.
to get any kind of money out of the country. So, for example, first of all, the typical way how you get out of the country right now, or over the last years even, is if you or a close relative is going to that country to study. So, or if you have a job there. But the main thing is actually you are a relative of a student. So essentially, a corrupt official I know they went about it like this. Oh, I have so and so many millions in bribe money. I can't really introduce it to the circulation here. So what do I do? Well, my son is going to study in Canada. Real case. So, well, the son needs an apartment. So I'm buying an apartment. Cash.
He'll need a Bugatti too.
No, not only a Bugatti. Not only the Bugatti.
He'll need
Since
some expensive jewelry. Might start a
yeah,
rap career.
and since my
I
son
like
doesn't know how
watches.
to cook, since my
Not
son
wearing one.
doesn't know how to cook, my wife needs
Personal
to go
chef.
there.
Oh, they'll both
Yeah,
need a personal chef.
no, 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 no. The wife needs a house somewhere else. So yeah,
Well, how is
all
she going to get back and forth? She's going to need a vehicle, and she doesn't drive good, so she's probably going to need a chauffeur too, right? Yeah.
yeah, you know how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and essentially, what happens? You go to the port of your choice, and you start packing a shipping container with furniture. Then you put the bags of cash in there. You take one of those bags of cash and take the loading master or the captain of the vessel. Please transport this container. Yeah, and it goes out. This is how it works. So
well, yeah, that's pretty much how smuggling works
essentially,
in every single country.
what the guy did,
We
he
just
set
in
up.
America, we don't have to smuggle money for these purposes, but for the stuff we do have to smuggle money for
Set
illegal
himself
goods.
up,
Yeah.
and all he needs to do is basically go to another ship and say, "Here is $10,000. I'm going to port of X," and show up in Canada and say, "I'm here. I claim asylum." Yeah, in 10,
Political
15 years.
refugee.
Yep, that is how it's done. So, but to get money out of the country, there was and potentially still is. I am neither confirming nor denying that this has happened, and that people I know have done this.
Well, I mean, the Chinese people are not stupid. They just have
No.
poor leadership, and they're not receiving the
Very,
proper
very
education.
inventive. They are very, very creative when it comes to running under the radar and doing things they are legally not supposed to do. And spoiler alert, which I totally endorse, because some of the laws are just plain bullshit. Yeah. So, so one thing I know that happened.
If a law is unjust, it is your civic duty to oppose it.
Yeah, it's Hobbes, Locke, and so on. Another case that I have been privy to is a factory owner. Somebody loves you.
Yeah.
Well, a factory owner wanted to close their factory, and was basically told by the government, "No, we won't let you close that. And while we delay the process and not letting you do it, we strip your assets if you don't stop it." So basically, what he did is he agreed to he sold the company then to somebody, which he was allowed to. Mm-hmm. And essentially, what happened? They had 3 production lines, one of different age. One of them was being replaced, and they didn't replace it. They ordered the new one and had it sent to the new location outside of China. The second one was disassembled, sent back to the manufacturer for refurbishing, and the manufacturer was told, send it to the new location.
Of course.
So they they locked the factory on Friday, purposefully destroyed everything they couldn't take, went to the airport, basically put all the money in Bitcoin at the airport, left the country, moved from one wallet to the other, and got their money out. So Monday morning, the Chinese employees are standing in front of the factory. Well, nobody is there. What the heck is going on? Yeah. And the person knows, I can never go back to China. I can never do business with China again, because I will be arrested. Yeah.
And probably killed.
Very probably they would disappear. But yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you have a system that is where the only decision criterion, literally, the only decision criterion in Chinese politics is, does it further promote the rule of the Chinese Communist Party domestically and abroad? So here we go. This is the decision criterion. And because you and I, or Western people in general, would say, "Oh, we wouldn't do that," so we assume nobody else would do something like X. Yeah.
But that's the reason why all these crazy military surprise attacks at works. It was like nobody would climb up the side of a mountain to invade Europe during World War II. They would fall to their deaths, and surely if they fell, no one would fall to their death without making a sound to not give away their brothers. It's impossible. That's why shit like this works, because it's stupid. It's crazy. It's insane.
But then again, look, the other thing is, if we know how this mindset operates, we can start pushing those buttons, and we know this is going to be the decision. And This was the later stages of the Trump administration and Biden all the way through. That is what has been going on. And really, we are now at the stage where the Chinese administration, first of all, if they are halfway smart, they just shut up and let it happen.
Mhm.
The young people, a lot of young people in China, we have a graduation hiring rate. So basically, one of the success factors that the Chinese government is being measured upon is how many graduates from university have a job X months after graduating.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
mean, that's a good metric to track. See
that
how you're
is not
doing.
a bad metric. It's hey, I'm all for it. And the current rate is about 15% for the recent graduates.
Get hired?
Yep, about
That's terrible.
15. That is absolutely terrible.
That's bad.
Now,
That's
yeah, you
very
know
bad.
the reaction for 1 year ago, the reaction of the party locally and centrally has been, you cannot graduate. Universities were told you cannot allow people to graduate except they bring a bloody contract from a company. Yeah, so you can't even get your degree unless you get hired. So 100% of our graduates are in work. So this is how Chinese statistics work. And even with
But
those
that's
statistics,
not a metric anymore.
no, look again. This is really about how does it look? How does it make us look? How does it
But
promote?
100% is a terrible number too, because everyone knows you are clearly lying.
Well, the reaction of Chinese
Jesse
graduates.
Smollett had an easier story to believe.
Yeah, look, what Chinese graduates and business people have been doing is they faked a contract, so people were graduating.
So they're forging contracts
Yeah,
to get their
yeah.
degree so that they can take their degree and show it and say
Look,
to an employer, I really do have a degree. Can I please get a real job now?
yep.
That is
I mean,
dumb.
look for you and me.
This is
This is
not what you
simply
genuinely
saying,
associate with like academia. Like this is not a bastion of higher learning.
speaking of academia,
Pillars
speaking
of
of academia,
principles.
we academics love to write stuff, yeah, and publish
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And the way this works
And
in
then tell
China,
everyone that
you
you
have a
did.
central database in China where all PhD theses or papers that a Chinese researcher writes in China are being published in or
Mhm.
deposited. And
Okay.
that is essentially the only way for Western scholars or for Western people in general to get access to these. So what happened last week is that per decree from you know who, this database is no longer accessible from outside of China.
Does it rhyme with who?
With what?
Does it rhyme with who?
Yeah, it's a poo-poo situation, but
It's just a crappy situation. Gotcha.
well, first of all, and this is also this would have been unprecedented under previous leaders or before the man himself got his third term. People in the party and in academia are openly criticizing this move in terms of one of the more modest comments was, well, this removes the opportunity and option for Western people to get a look in how China works, what China is like. Yeah. And it will increase policy mistakes on both sides.
Mhm.
So first of all, no Chinese official is interested or has any understanding of how any system except the Chinese one works.
Mhm.
This is why Xi Jinping calls Joe Biden and tells him, you don't allow Nancy Pelosi to fly around wherever she wants to. Yeah. And Joe Biden is, dude, seriously. Yeah. This
I
is
couldn't stop her if I wanted to.
so
I
And
mean, she could quit, buy a plane ticket, and do whatever she wants as a private citizen. Like you can go to North Korea as a U.S. citizen. You can't fly direct, but you can go.
this is seriously.
Tehran.
This is not only that they don't understand how stuff works. They
Uh,
are absolutely not interested. And you and I are on the other hand, oh, we want to know how this stuff works. Well, how do you do that kind of stuff? Maybe we can learn something. Yeah.
yeah.
So that is the major difference between the Western system and the CCP system.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, as an American, I would go to Pyongyang, I would go to Tehran, I would go to Beijing. If my security was assured, and it was
So never.
simply like I mean, I would go without a camera. Like, I would go and just be like, all right, if y'all really want to show an American, look, this is what you're wrong about us, and you want to give your shtick and let me meet some people, I'd go
The problem is, the problem
as long
is,
as I knew I was coming back.
you see, the problem is if the local population in those countries would meet you, me, unopposed, and we can have a genuine conversation, they would start to question, well, why am I being told this? You see, the same thing. I have currently two Chinese friends that are talking to me about how bad the situation is. And we are talking about real professionals, yeah, very professional jobs,
Mhm.
highly educated people, quite open-minded, yeah. Not, I mean, not open-minded with Chinese characteristics. I mean, really open-minded about stuff. And they
Yeah.
tell me, well, I told them, well, if it's really so bad there, why don't you go? I don't know, to the UK, to the US, to wherever.
EU,
Oh, yeah,
South
wait.
America,
Yeah,
South
wait a
America's.
second.
What's wrong with that?
And they both tell me, oh well, it's so bad with the COVID, the unemployment in the UK. And I said,
No,
where?
it's
This
not.
must be a different country. Yeah. So and I told them this, nobody is wearing a mask. No, nobody, even the few people that still get COVID. Yeah, because we will continue to get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't even get off sick. They just work from home for a couple of days, so they don't infect anyone. But when when I had COVID, I was never concerned about I'm not gonna make it. Yeah,
Dude,
I
when
was.
I had COVID, I was just like, this really, 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 really sucks. I wish I could
Yep,
taste. Food, the
that
food
was the
that I
thing.
was eating,
I didn't
I
have
wasn't
a
hungry,
sign
but
of taste or smell for a month, but that is
see,
it.
mine was off, which was
Yeah,
worse. Like,
completely. Oh, you smelled different. Smelled it differently. Yeah.
no, it smelled different, so it tasted different. But
Yep.
and on top of all of it, I didn't want to eat the food because when you're feeling sick and puny, you don't want to
Yeah.
eat. And then when the food that you asked for and you're expecting something tastes off, but at no
Yep.
point was I was like, man, have I updated my will and testament?
No.
Am I
Never.
okay with Jesus? Did I
And
say
look,
I'm sorry to little Frankie in
I
the third
felt
grade?
I felt really poorly one single day,
It felt like the
and
flu.
that's
Hell,
it.
I've had the flu. That the regular flu was worse than that.
Hmm. Let me put it that way. When I was really
Influenza
ill
A is
in
what I had.
China, yeah, when I was really ill in China, uh, I was on the early stages of pneumonia, and
Oh,
just
pneumonia
for
sucks. So you have bronchitis leading into a wet pneumonia.
yep,
Yeah.
it was getting there, and based totally, I for this kind of thing, which my insurance would be covering in the US, UK, or something, I had the privilege of paying £120, $150, just for going there, have my blood checked, have a doctor in a room full of other patients tell me, oh, it is this, yeah, and then go to the pharmacy and buy medicine.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, that is, and these are not. If I'm Chinese and I make like 2,000 renminbi a month, that is also the price I'm paying. Yeah, I don't get a discount.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, this is really the amount of control the party has in ordinary citizens' life. First of all, let's just put it into perspective. I argue that if the firewall was dropped today, yeah, it's gone. Chinese people can access the internet however they want. It
Mhm.
wouldn't change a damn thing because half of the Chinese have been so used to this is the system, and as long
Mhm.
as they have food and money, they don't care. Yeah, this is what people are like. As long as I have food, I have a decent life, I have enough money. Yeah, I don't care what you guys at the top decide. Yeah.
That's a
So
great slave mentality.
the other side, the other half of the population would be like, well, yeah, you've been lying to us. That's not very nice. But I
Mhm.
am also afraid of the repercussions if I tell you that I realized this. Yeah.
Oh, 'cause something's gonna
So
happen.
another thing is even the people there in China that say they can understand English, they do it at a very, very poor level.
Mm.
So really strong command of English is very, very remote there. So
That won't suit them well in business abroad.
um, with Chinese strategy in business is basically you do what I want or else. Yeah, that is the
Yeah.
approach.
But you're seeing a lot of American companies put their foot down and
Yeah.
finally going, you know what, your market's not worth it. We'd rather
No.
make a billion
Let
less.
me say that. Let me say that. Every business that wants to go to China because of the big market, let me tell you one thing. It is 1.4 billion, actually only 1.3 billion. Yeah, still a lot of people, but 95% of the people in that market do not care about your product, cannot afford your product, and will rather wait until a Chinese company sells it for 10 times higher the price than do business with you. That is how this
Well, they looks
works.
like they trained them well.
Yeah, but look, I keep saying this. Like I said, it wouldn't, in my opinion, it wouldn't have any effect on any kind of change if the firewall was dropped now.
I mean, if that
So
worked here, General Motors would be the General Electric would be the biggest company on planet Earth if that
in
worked in America.
perpetuity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it wouldn't
So
even be close. Like the General would just be it. It would
yeah,
probably colonize Mars before a nation.
it's and we can't even imagine how this kind of stuff works. So um, it was after the first initial, oh yeah, this is cool, this works. When you see the whole story, like I said, I'm a person, I can't live with that. Yeah,
Right.
I'm sorry. There is a
Too much
bottom line.
hypocrisy.
Not only hypocrisy, the open dehumanization of the whole population is just something I can't support. You see, the ironic part is
Well, on
that
top of that is the extreme nationalism and xenophobia. I mean, that has to be rough
exactly.
when
You see,
you
when you
know they
come,
hate you. You know
yeah,
they hate you.
you
And if you don't know, they'll tell you.
even if you don't want to know, there
Yeah.
was one incident. There was one incident. My screen broke down at work, so my computer is still working, but the screen basically the inverter collapsed.
Okay.
So and I need a new screen. So I am typing on my mobile phone to the IT guys and say, guys, I need a new screen. This is what happened. And the guy is uh, emailing me back, oh, you need to fill out a form. And I said, how can I fill out a form? My screen broke. I am typing on my mobile. Please bring me a screen. That was at 12 o'clock. And the IT office with the screens is like 10 minutes walking from my office. Half an hour later, the guy walks in without a screen.
Did he bring a
And
form?
no, he's playing around with the screen. Oh yeah, the screen doesn't work. And I'm like,
No
no shit,
shit.
Sherlock. So and
You've cracked the case wide open.
yeah, yeah. Wait. He's basically sending an email to someone,
On his mobile,
his
right?
mobile, and I get an email from that person, oh, you have to fill out a form. I, I am supposed to walk over, get the form, and then they will order a screen and get it to me. So what I did is I emailed my boss, told him, look, this is what's going on. It is 1 o'clock now. I'm going for lunch.
I'm leaving.
I am not going to fill out a form.
Nope.
And literally the thing is, 5 minutes after I sent that email, basically saying, oh, I'm not doing that. All I'm asking
I'm going
is,
home. I'm going to eat, then I'm going to go home if it's not fixed. You let me know when it's fixed, right?
I also put in the boss of the IT department. I don't think we are investing my salary very well going back and forth for something as simple as hook me up a screen. I will print and fill out 20 forms if you want, but get me in the position where I can do that. Yeah. So the guy is then on the phone, gets a call from his superiors, and basically tells him as much, and they argue back and forth.
Wait, so now the bosses are arguing about, is it broke?
No. The IT guy with his manager.
Oh, I thought his manager and your manager were getting at it. Jeez.
No. My manager, at that time, he was very non-confrontational. So basically, there's other stories I can tell about my work experience there. Essentially, what then happened is, after that phone conversation, he starts to make phone calls because he doesn't want to walk back and forth with a bloody screen. Yeah. So, and I hear the term Lao Wai all the time. So,
is that like white boy?
Means foreigner.
Dumb cracker.
Yeah, exactly. It is used as a term for foreigner, for everyone who is not Chinese, and literally translated, it means old outsider, which basically means you will never be part of us, no matter how well behaved you are. We don't care. And my next step was filing a complaint. My name is Roland, not Lao Wai. Yeah, I mean, nothing came of that, but
his boss probably went to Lao Wai complaining.
The Lao Wai is complaining about being called Lao Wai. Yep. Yes.
Come up with a new word.
And really, I also see that when I am in a restaurant here or something, the conversations in Chinese are very loud, which I find quite rude. Yeah, you are entertaining the whole bloody restaurant.
I don't like that either. I find it to be quite rude.
Instead of going over and say, shut up, or could you turn it down, I just pretend I'm on the phone with my wife and say something in Chinese. Very quickly, the volume gets shut down really fast. Yeah. So
that works in our jails when they find out you do speak Spanish and you do know what they said.
Pendejo.
Oh, that's nothing. That's like a term of endearment.
Are they making references about your sexual relations with a goat?
No, but I did end up with the nickname Diablo Blanco, which was actually, they started calling me that once they liked one, because working for a Texas-based construction company for all those years, I'm around a lot of Hispanics, foreign nationals, and Americans of Hispanic and Latino descent. Yeah. So all my Mexican boys, they started calling me White Devil. But it was messed up because I would go work with them and we would work just fine. But a lot of the other people, and this is like the weird thing, and it happened more with the Mexicans that were from Mexico. Yeah. They would accept me, and they would accept some of the Mexicans who were Mexican American. But obviously some of the changes in culture, they give each other the stick, like we do with Great Britain. But they would always accept me. So they taught me just the worst kind of language. And they always said, why are you the only one who's not us who comes over here? I said, because y'all run off all the white guys and the black guys. They said, why are you here? I said, I'm not white, I'm not black. I said, I'm Celtic. We used to do all the work in this country before y'all showed up. And they're like, oh, you're just like us, and used a very choice word. And I went, yeah, pretty much, I guess so. And they're like, okay, come on. They said, we teach you Spanish.
Look,
but no, they used that one specific word. They're like, oh, you're a blank, just like the rest of us. Yeah.
No,
yeah, man. Give me the shovel. Let's fill up the wheelbarrows.
I want to say is you do have across all generations in China, you have people that are very much not okay with how things are going.
But see, that's it. And in the Western culture, different cultures can get along.
Yeah.
The xenophobia in Eastern Asia that I hear more about from you is insane. Just the blatant, open racism. I mean,
it's depending on who it is about. It is unfortunately quite open. And
well, that story about Africa is heartbreaking. They had little kids holding up signs like that. That ain't right. That ain't right.
Well, you see, we white people have done a lot of bad stuff, but we learned from that.
And people who are not white also did a lot of bad things too. Humans have done bad things to humans.
Exactly.
We're not nice to each other. We're just
when you look at it, all this racism, bad stuff, and killing each other happened way before the white man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I for once, I have only two categories of people: people that treat me like they are an asshole, and people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
And guess which category I like better?
Yeah, so, right.
It's really.
See, for me, it's people I can deal with and people I can't deal with, and it has nothing to do with race or religion or sexual gender.
It's people I don't want to deal with.
It's, can I put up with your shit? Yes or no?
Yep.
Whatever your brand of bullshit is.
You don't sell it here. Yeah.
We are so off topic. Come back with another one soon.
Let's have a look what's going on. But I would say let's take a break here and come back stronger with another topic.
And we will see y'all again soon. That's Roland.
And over there, that's Rish. Until the next video.